There we go.
Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for this fun little masterclass on your six vital needs. Um, I just reached out to Chelsey. She is someone that I have worked with on and off. She was my kickboxing coach and helped me navigate so much stuff going on in my body by using movement to get myself grounded so many times. But every time I worked with her or every time her and I had a conversation, there's just something that I love connecting with you about. And I like love doing little master classes and wanted to reach out and do one with you. So thanks for making it happen. This is awesome. Um, we're going to really just focus on thriving from within, mastering your six vital needs. And I think it's something most of the faces that I see here right now have actually gone through with me before. And bringing in a fresh voice and a fresh perspective and a health coach, movement guru on with with me right now, I think you guys are going to hear some new things. And we're actually kind of viewing it, and the stuff we've talked about bringing up is going to be really impactful. So I'm excited you guys are all here. But I would love, Chelsey, I would love you to introduce yourself so that they can all get to know you.
Sure. Thank you. Well, thank you again for having me. And it is always a pleasure to reconnect on our different projects that we've done in the past. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here. So, my name is Chelsey Ray. I have been a certified personal trainer for coming up on 9 years now. I specialize in corrective movement for women over 35, making sure that we are keeping injuries at bay and we are able to be strong and mobile well into our like 90s is our goal, right? And up beyond. So pain-free movement while building strength and increasing bone density. And then I am also a nutrition coach. So I got my certification as a nutrition coach about 3 years ago. And so a lot of what I do on that side is like helping women to not only like lose belly fat that can be very stubborn to get rid of for women, right? Because that's just where, but really helping women to kind of balance their hormones as well with the nutrition piece, with the movement piece, and all without like restrictive diets and obsessive exercise. So again, just keeping the body operating at its optimal for as long as possible, right? So um, and I do this all through a very holistic style. No pills, shakes, potions, lotions, none of that. It's all really about optimizing what the individual's body needs in order to feel great and have the energy and reach the goals that you want to reach. So it's been pretty incredible to I work with women all over the country because due to COVID, I used to run a dance and fitness studio in Carnation for about 4.5 years. And as we've all experienced, COVID affected us a lot. It hit us pretty hard as a small business. And it was something I had to step away from, but it forced me into an online space, which has been incredible because I've been able to touch so many more lives and work with so many more women in a broader avenue. And I've actually been able to get my clients even better results than working with them just for like 2 hours one-on-one each week because now they've got me basically in their back pocket every single day. And um, it's been really, really cool to like transition into that. And yeah, so I do that full time as well as I am a homeschool mom to a crazy 5-year-old boy. So that takes up pretty much the rest of my sanity. So yeah, that's that's pretty much it.
Mm. I love that. And I know all of you here know me, but I'm going to do my introduction because we will be sending this on to people that know Chelsey also. Um, I'm Tassin Smith, and I go by Tassin Joy, my middle name. Love that. And I was raised in a house with parents, and I'm just going to go right into like that six basic needs that we're going to be talking about. I was raised in a house with parents and mom. My dad passed when I was really young, and my mom had to take over four children. And she was raised in a home where I don't think I ever saw my grandmother eat or take care of herself until the whole house was cared for, right? Like full self-care all the time was not a thing for these people, and they were people pleasers. That's the word I was looking for. Like that people pleaser disease that we hear about was handed down to me. I like to say I crawled out of the vagina and somebody said, "Here, you're a people pleaser. Stamp that on your forehead and live from there." I'm like, "Okay, I like this because I can regulate my system on how other people are reacting to me. I can figure out how my day is going by how your day is going." And that just worked my nervous system really well. And so through my life, I met my spouse when I was 15 years old and still together today at 43. And we have transitioned through him getting clean and sober. We have transitioned through having two kids very, very young. I'm an empty nester at 43. And throughout that whole story as well, I continued to grow my people pleasing cape so that I could actually read a body across the room and know what they needed before they were even speaking it, right? Like that's like a superpower for so many of us. And in there, I completely lost myself, completely lost who I was, what I was doing, how I was functioning, how I wanted to show up. And really lately have realized I don't think my grandmothers ever knew who they were. I don't think my mom really figured out who she was until she went through two divorces and is remarried now. And really, even like she just went through a whole breast cancer journey. And through that journey, she finally was like, oh my gosh, I have to take care of myself. My body is shutting down, right? Like things are happening because I've neglected myself for so long. And so the six basic needs became like my lifeline when I was younger. And now I was a massage therapist, which let me tell you again, people pleasing skill set as a massage therapist. I can read your body, I can see where your pain is. And the better I was, the more affirmations I received from my clients, which just filled me up, right? Like, oh, you're so good at this and you're so this. And that made me feel so much better. And I loved what I did, not realizing that even my job I had chosen was fulfilling my people pleasing skill set. So when I started to shift away from massage and really go into the coaching, where for me, my favorite thing about coaching is it's on your plate. I just get to sit there and listen and ask you the right questions to make your mind go, oh, that's true. I'm not here to give advice. I'm not here to fix you. I just get to be myself while you're being yourself. And I get to help give tools that might navigate your system back into regulation if you choose to use them. But it's I don't get to follow you around and make sure you're using them like I do at home with my children or husband or my sisters. So this has been that big journey of like pulling myself apart of am I trying to control something because what's happening out there is making me so uncomfortable that I'm going to step in their way and give them what they need or should have so that they can go about their day better. Like, it's been super fascinating journey to watch myself through all of that, and right now in my ginormous grief portal that I'm experiencing, which so many people on here already know, but if you are new to me, my sister passed in January, and that has sent me through an entire new experiment on this lovely earth school that we're sitting in of, I really have to take care of myself right now. I don't have the energy to even sometimes check in with my mom who lost her daughter. Sometimes that's too much. I don't have the energy to go to some of the family gatherings that they have had because my whole system is like, that doesn't feel safe. That doesn't feel ready. And it's so strange to call up your family and say, hey, I'm not coming. I'm not ready for this. But then to go, that was also so empowering to set that boundary for myself and to listen to myself. And so I love sharing through my own personal journey how I've navigated some of these things, how I've navigated these tools. I know Chelsey and I were talking last week, and I was just telling her some stuff about how I navigated going through my husband's sobriety with a kindergartner and a first grader and some of the tools that I used because I wanted to empower them and their emotions and not hide my emotions and making it look like I was stronger for them by not showing my sadness or my anger or my frustration. Like, and that I think is what I love about the coaching and what I love about how I get to show up for the world today is that my life experience I get to share with you. And if it sounds good or if it feels good, or if you're like, yeah, but how did you navigate that? I get to share that with you, all while allowing you to have the space to really check in with yourself and know what works well for you and what doesn't. So I have no idea if that was a good introduction. I don't know where went with that, but hi, I'm Tassin.
I love it. I love it.
See, where's our timer at? So I would love, Chelsey, I would love you to dive into the social norms, like how we see the way the world today is. And I know all of us on here right now are mamas, but like how the way the world has us showing up in this rat race right now. Like, what's your perception on that?
Yeah, I think just the social norm of like we have to be at all the things. Yet when we're one thing, it's not okay, and when we're another thing, it's not enough. And it's like, where do we even know where to land, right? Like how confusing that feels. And that's kind of like how you said, like our grandmas had no idea who they were because that was part of their life too. They were in survival mode their entire life, right? Like that's all it was. And I know in my experience, I have felt like I'm operating in survival mode as well. And almost feeling like you don't have the direction because the society has you so confused on what you should be doing. And again, if we have any kind of people pleasing tendencies, right, that can drive a person crazy because you want to do it right, right? You don't want to mess it all up. Um, and I think that it's got us so conditioned that self-care is selfish, and that if we as moms especially take time for us to fill our cups up, that it's selfish. And the problem with that is that all of us know, we've all been there, when we're trying to pour from an empty cup, we can't, right? We are not showing up as the mom, as the sister, as the friend, as the spouse, as the worker, or the work partner that we want to be, because we're just done. And then we get to that point where we hit a wall and we just lose our shit, right? Like we have that total like meltdown, breakdown, and then everything that we've been holding on to gets spewed on the people that we should be pouring into, but we're not pouring into ourselves. And I just hate that that social norm is so ingrained in us, that the mom guilt, right? Like that's the, if we're gonna put a name to it, it's the mom guilt of I need to take 15 minutes to go in my room and breathe, or I need to, go for a drive and blare heavy metal and just scream at the top. Like what are the things that I need? And it gets so deep as you almost feel, and this isn't again in my experience, but also like what I've heard from my clients, that you almost feel embarrassed or afraid to talk to your spouse about that and to communicate those needs of like literally, honey, I need to do this or this is going to happen and I don't want to get here. Um, and so, I don't think it's necessarily about like how society got there, but it's how do we break that norm?
Mm,
Because obviously it's not working. Every single one of us has gone through the cycle of it, not just, it doesn't just happen once, right? It's a cycle that it builds and builds and builds, and then we hit a wall, and, it could be as hard as like all of a sudden now we have some immune system thing happening. You know, the stress on our immune system, the stress on our body, and then all of a sudden, you know, we've got high blood pressure, we've got um, thyroid issues happening. We have, you know, there's all these things that start messing with every. It just as a snowball effect, and it comes down to that point of like, I think just the awareness of knowing that that is normal, but that doesn't mean that it's real, like that it's the way it should be. And then
And
it's
there's that part of society too that the busier you are, the better mom, the better worker, the more like you're going to climb that ladder. Like there's that
Mhm,
comparison of if you don't have enough on, and that is a reflection of the society that we live in right now, is if your plate's not full enough, what are you doing? You know? And don't just be really busy. Make it look like it's easy. Don't ever say you're stressed or that it's too much or that you wish you hadn't volunteered. Just put the smile on your face, go do the thing, scream in the car later. Like that part has been so fascinating for me to watch lately of like how busy I need to feel like I'm doing enough. Yet I've created a business that doesn't I don't have to be out there busy every day. I actually can have a whole day of creation and exploring and what am I going to do next and like allowing that to happen. But if I don't feel like I checked enough boxes that day, that I don't feel like I hit the norm of I actually have a job. What do you do all day? Do you actually work? It's like, wait, what? Yeah. So there's that part too that I find so interesting is the more busy you are, the better you better look at doing it. And don't ever say you're tired because then people are just going to think you're not good enough or there's something in that. Do you know where I'm trying to go with that, Chelsea?
oh yeah, yeah, I mean, it's just it suppresses us too, right? Like, the busier we are, the easier it is to put that stuff underneath and not worry about it. Like, "Okay, I'll do it later. I'll worry about me later. I'll scream in the car later," and then again, it begins to boil and build, and then there's an explosion. Um,
Yeah, what does your out of alignment look like, ladies? If you can type in the chat, like let us know when you're out of alignment, like so far out that there is no, am I taking care of myself? Like you're out of alignment. What is that? How does that show up for you personally? I think sometimes we forget to even figure out what does that mean for us when we're not well. I am super easily offended by anything my husband says. He can just look at me and I'll be offended that he thinks I didn't do something enough when I'm out of alignment. He doesn't even have to use his words. And then
mm,
I'm defensive, right? And defense is that very first act of war. So then I'm like charged and ready to defend myself. Yeah, shutting down, total overwhelm. Just stop functioning and have to go to bed to rest to fill back up. It's really, really hard with littles. Yeah. This is something, it's so funny. I have amnesia. I don't remember having littles, but Chelsey has that little one who is consistently there. And when you need to care for yourself, yet they still haven't been fed or they're upset about something, like it's a lot. It's a lot. Just get snappy and irritated. Yeah. And so we know when we're completely out of alignment. But society doesn't teach us to catch when we're going slightly out of alignment or how to fill ourselves back up again or what to do about it at all. Do you have anything else you want to add in on the social conditioning that we're living in? Anybody else out there have something from social conditioning that you're like, I'm noticing this? This is showing up for me as a mom, as a business owner, as a wife. knowing when to just stop, stop doing, stop talking, just stop. That you should want to be all the things. Yeah, that's a big one. That you should enjoy doing all the things too, right? Like life as helpmate. Yeah, but who is helping us? Totally, for sure. So then we blow up because we didn't take the time to fill up. And then who does that affect? Right? The
Everybody.
ones that we love the most. Everyone. Everyone. It does. It really does. We hit that breaking point and all of a sudden everyone is feeling it and probably internalizing it that they did something wrong, right? That they're at fault. They're now getting that social conditioning passed down to them because of our, I'm going to say, inability to self care, to fill up. It's that, well, it's that simple, and it's not that simple. The magical thing is that when we do fill ourselves up, it impacts everyone in a very beneficial way. Yeah. And I'll go in to say right here, like, this is the one thing that Chelsea and I were talking about the other day when my husband went to rehab. Um, he was gone for over a month. And at that time, financially, we had no money at all. Like, no bills had been paid, mortgage hadn't been paid, no money. I would show up at home and there'd be like $100 tacked to my front door. And that I knew I could like pay a bill or buy some groceries that day. But I never know. People just kind of through the woodwork showed up. And I remember making a journal for them. And each night I journaled and they journaled. And their journal, I asked them 3 questions each night. I asked them, what do you miss about daddy today? What do you wish you could tell daddy today? And are you angry with daddy today? And I just had them each day go through and write those questions as a what if 5, 6 year old kindergartner and a 7, 8 year old second grader. But I knew that I needed to write these down for myself and that I didn't want to hide from them. So there were days they came home from school and I would look at my kids and tell them, I am sad today and you're probably going to watch me cry. I am feeling emotional today and I might be a little bit uptight. It's okay to say, Mom, you're a little uptight. Like we started having a language over how I was feeling. And my biggest goal was to not bury it and act like it wasn't there. Because when my dad passed away, when we went through trauma as a child, we didn't talk about it. We never had the spaciousness to actually express ourselves. And that was really important to me as a mom. I just thought, no, I want them to know that everything I'm feeling, they're probably feeling too. And so it just somehow, don't ask me how, I don't feel like I had a great skill set back then, but that came through. And I was really able to allow myself to say, it's okay for my children to see me fall apart if we're talking about it. And if I can fall apart in a healthy way, I'm not going to then lose it in an unhealthy way. And so we did. We kept a journal and we talked about what was going on. And I told them, if you come home and you want to cry, tell me I need to cry today. I miss daddy, and you can sit on my lap and I will hold you and we will talk about this. And if you come in the house and mama's crying, you can sit with me or you can go play. I'm okay. But I'm having a feeling and you're going to see them. And later, years later, my daughter was in therapy and found her journal and brought it to therapy. And she was like, oh my gosh, Mom, I ugly cried. That's how she calls it. I ugly cried because I don't remember that time, kindergarten. And I had a whole navigation tool of what I was going through, even though I'll never actually be able to pull that up and remember that. And so as we go into more discussion today about like mastering your 6 vital needs, I want to remind you guys that everything we're doing, if we have other people living with us, they're witnessing us. They're watching us, they're learning from us. And so Sometimes when you feel like, oh my gosh, my child is over there losing his mind, and yet I can't even concentrate. My headache is so big. I haven't eaten today. Whatever that looks like, remember if you take that pause and they get to watch you go do something for yourself before you come back and deal with what the tornado, they're learning from you. Yeah. It's totally okay to let kids see you fall apart. The way I balance it is infuse just enough reassurance, yeah, that I really love them and that I will circle back and that this too shall pass. It's so important. And that to me was breaking that social norm. That to me was like, how can I do this different? How can I move through this incredibly mind blowing, heartbreaking, huge pull the rug out from underneath you thing in a way that I can look back and be like, I did the best I could do. Like, I really did. I don't have a lot of regret around how we walked through my husband getting clean and sober for the second time. Let me just throw that out there too. Yeah. So, where are ways, Chelsey, where you've kind of been watching yourself break that social conditioning for yourself?
A lot of it is again just figuring again as moms, we always want to do it different than what we were raised, right? Like I grew up in a very uh a yelling house. There was always yelling, screaming, fighting, always. Um and I find myself doing the same thing and getting so mad at myself for
Mhm,
falling into that. Um and we all have different and unique situations when it comes to that. Right now, at this stage of life, it's harder for me because I am staying at home with my son. There's no one else here. I am his caregiver. And when we both need to go our separate ways for a minute, sometimes that just doesn't happen, right? Like, kid, I need you to go to your room. Mom's going to go to her room. And sometimes that separation doesn't happen, right? He's still at the door, pounding on the door. Um, and I think it really goes back again more to the awareness of like, I am aware of this is coming. I feel this coming. I can feel in my body that this is going to be bad. What I've noticed that has shifted over the last uh, few months for me in particular is the weeks that I'm not taking the self-care, I am less able to regulate that coming of feeling where if I'm just out again at my wit's end already, it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? I'm much more quick to be, nope. Where if I was able to get some kind of a recharge, even just for a few minutes that day,
mhm,
started the day with water and high protein breakfast and at least trying to get the sleep that you can. Again, all situational differences, but um, that I'm much more able to regulate and to witness when it's coming. And I even use these kind of scenarios with my clients. Like we use a code like green, yellow, red. Like if you are like just about to, we call it, throw in the towel, but I call it, we get a case of the fuckets. We don't want to get there. Before we get there, you are texting me yellow. Like you don't even really have to say what's going on, but I know I need to get with you, full attention. Let's walk through this. Now, as moms, we don't always have someone that we can like shift to and be like, help me, right? Especially if you're a stay-at-home mom by yourself, a 5-year-old is going crazy. So I think the biggest part is bringing the awareness and again, doing the best that you can with the situation, right? And then um, just communicating as much as possible too when that individual calms down. Like you're not going to talk to my 5-year-old when he's in that position, right? He's not listening. But once he gets calmed down, like expressing and walking him through what just happened of like, listen, dude, like mom doesn't want to yell like this. I really needed us both to have our separate time. Next time this happens, can we maybe, do that? And that has helped. And again, it's the communication and not feeling embarrassed, not feeling selfish, to express your needs to anyone in your household, to create those boundaries with your family members, with your coworkers, your spouse, your sister, your mom. Like it's it's so empowering, like you said, Tassin, it's scary to set that because you want to show up for them and have them not feel like you're not. But wouldn't you rather have me 100% than 10%? Like that's what I have been asking myself. Like, and it's not on them, it's on me. And I need to take the responsibility of, no, I need to take care of this because you're not going to like who I show up as if I don't.
Mhm. I have been really trying to figure out how to navigate like where my energy is through the grief cycle. And my husband gets home from work and he wants to connect and he wants to chat and he wants to do all these things. And I have been playing with that battery, right? Like my battery is 50% today. I got 50% left. And so, me speaking that out loud to him, I have 50% of my battery left. So, for me, giving you 50% is 100% of what I have. If it's 18%, hey, I got 18%. Like I'm pretty exhausted, but like maybe 18% of my battery left before I'm going to bed. So he knows that he's actually getting my full battery, even that it's 18%, right? Like we don't have to have a full battery. If it's 18 and I'm giving you 18, you're getting my full battery right now. And I'm also letting him know, like, oh, she's at 18%. I love you were saying the code words about, where I'm at: green, yellow, red. And I love, I'm in the weeds or I'm out to sea. Like I'm in the weeds means I'm okay and this could go south really fast. I'm out to sea means do not ask for anything. I don't have it. And what you're going to get is probably not what you're looking for. And it might put you out to sea too. So, like having those code words, I love that you brought that up. Like having those code words with my husband or with your kids or with your clients or with your girlfriends, like having that one girlfriend that you can say, oh my God, I am so far out to sea right now. I can't seem to paddle back. And having her know, I will reach out to you in like 20 minutes. I'm just getting my kids situated. Pick up the phone when I call you. I'll just listen. Like knowing that's what you're looking for, that's so brilliant. I really love that full circle of support. Yeah. What else did we want to talk? Anything else in that? Mm, the learning. So we did talk a little bit about um, when we are fully dysregulated and we can catch that, right? But like, how do we start catching ourselves when we're getting there? How do we start noticing, like, oh, I'm a little off today? Like, there's something
Yeah.
in my body. Is it my chest? Is it my belly? Is it actual physically a headache coming on? Like, how can we become more aware of these little bodies that tell us everything before we're walking into the door, right, Shelley? Before we hit the door frame. We have to learn to check in with our bodies. So I would love everybody in here just to think for a minute, like, what are your first body responses? And again, type that in the chat if you want. But Chelsey, how do you start to recognize that you're going from green to yellow?
Um, I can feel like a lot of it is like the physical, obviously. Like I can feel my throat starting to tighten. I start to clench my jaw, which in turn everything's right here just starts to hurt. Um, again, because I'm trying to keep it all together and not lose it. Um, and my temperature rises. I can feel myself getting hot. And my voice changes. My volume has a harder time staying. All of a sudden my volume is up, which again can trigger whoever else is in the same situation, right? Like you just talked about, like it could put them out to sea too, right? And that is something like, yeah, those are the things that kind of happen for me. Um, and I think even before though, before we can get to the awareness point, it's knowing that what it feels like, but it's also how did I get there? How did I get there? Did I drink enough water? Did I eat today? Did I, like, again, back to the basic needs? And I know we had talked about the emergency kit.
Let's
And
first go into the basic needs. I know the
okay,
girls here know them, but whoever's watching the recording might, um, yeah, let's like really discuss and dive into the very basic needs, our body's very basic needs, and why they're important. So you go for it. I always forget one or two. So you start it off and I'll see if I fill them in.
yeah, I mean, I know we both kind of had a little bit different list of things, but
Yeah.
you know, water, are we hydrated? Water
And
plays one of the biggest
yeah.
roles in all the functions in your body. And it is incredible what dehydration does to every function, cognitive, everything. So yeah, the having proper hydration, that spins off into, yeah, not just water, but electrolyte balance. Like if you're actually absorbing your water, if you live somewhere hot, are you sweating it out? Like if you're working out a lot, are you getting enough water? Um, and then, you know, we talked about movement being a huge piece and whatever that looks like for you, whether it's dance, whether it's walking, whether it's actually picking up some heavy weights or hitting the hell out of a kickboxing bag. Like what kind of daily movement have you done to get your blood pumping?
we weren't meant to sit. We all know we weren't created to sit at a desk or at a computer or on a phone all day. Like our bodies, you go back generations, they were not created to sit. And one of the only times that your body naturally flushes out your lymphatic system naturally is movement. Unless you do your own lymphatic drainage on your body, which I don't know how many people actually know how to do that, movement is the only time that your body will flush out your lymph system. And your lymph system takes all the chemicals that you have retained from this beautiful, lovely environments that we live in, from the amazing foods that we pop open in bags. Like any of that stuff that goes into your body has to travel through the lymph system and come out. And so when we're stagnant in our movement, we're stagnant in how our body is flushing. And something I learned years ago, I took some lymphatic classes, I don't even know, 20 years ago. And the thing that was so fascinating to me is this teacher that I learned from wasn't from America. And he said, cells that don't move will hook up to chemicals that don't move. And an unhealthy cell plus a chemical is how you create a cancer cell.
Mhm.
So if you aren't getting movement, you are allowing your cells to find unhealthy cells and to grow around the chemicals in our body. And so it's so much more than just, I was raised, here's some social, what's the word? Construction. Like I was raised that movement was to lose weight, right? Like the only reason I should move was to be skinny. And that is how I was taught. And if you didn't work out for an hour and a half, don't work out at all. It's just a waste of your time. And so the first time somebody was like, "Well, just go for a 20-minute walk." I was like, "Well, what is that gonna do? I'm not gonna lose weight if I'm walking for 20 minutes." Like, it's about your mental health. It's about your body's health. It's about so much more than, if again, are we busy enough? Am I working out so much that people are going to go, "Wow, you're a powerhouse." I was a total CrossFit addict, by the way. Like, for years. The harder I worked out, the better I felt about my strength, about who I was as a woman, about how people would view me, like so much of that social stuff. And so movement to me now has become this thing of, that's why sometimes it's just, even if I dance for one song, I know I'm flushing my entire lymphatic system. And if you dance like me, it's pretty weird. And like you're moving your body like a kind of like weird. And so I'm definitely flushing all the areas in my body. But that I think is one of the most, to me, movement, it doesn't have to, it has its bonuses when you can hit peak movement, and it has its bonuses when you're in the restorative, yummy movement and you're just getting flexibility and breathing and yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Um, yeah, that social norm of like, again, the all or nothing mindset of if I don't do this 110%, why am I even doing it? When there's definitely science that backs that even just a little bit every single day is going to give you actually more benefit than pounding it out at the gym for 2 hours twice a week.
Mhm. Yeah, because then we raise our is it the cortisol,
Yeah,
right?
then you're
Then
raising
we live in
cortisol
fight or
and
flight.
any woman over 40 getting into perimenopause and menopause, it actually affects every single hormonal function on the negative side.
Mhm.
Doing high intensity balls to the wall type workouts is not appropriate for women moving into that phase of life. It screws up everything. Gentle
Mhm.
movement again. What movements can we do forever? CrossFit's not one of them, is it? That's why you don't do it anymore. Like it's not something you can sustain forever. For most people, like running marathons, you're not going to do it forever. It's really hard on your body. Like, what can you do every single day? Take a walk, do some gentle dynamic movement stretches,
Mhm.
dance.
Yeah,
What's yummy on your joints forever that can still move the needle forward on the progress that you're looking for too.
totally. All right. So we have hydration and movement.
Sleep,
Sleep.
sleep. Is again, I not to put these in any order because it's kind of hard to order the importance of them. So, but yeah, if you're not getting enough sleep, like again, it's that snowball effect of um, I'm searching for energy. So I'm gonna maybe drink another cup of coffee that I don't normally do. Or I'm going to reach for some sugary carb source later to kind of give me that energy boost that I wouldn't. So I am feeling super snacky. I'm feeling a little more irritable. I don't show up cognitively as sharp as I had hoped. It affects everything not sleeping well. And
Fun.
again, sometimes that's out of our control, but there's
Mhm.
certain things that we can do to make sure that we're getting a good night's rest and um,
And sleep is, it's where we heal, right? That level of sleep where you're truly asleep is when your body gets to let go and begin to access its natural healing state. So I've always heard that if I'm not sleeping, and like I'm laying there awake and I'm annoyed and I know my alarm's going to go off soon and I got to get up and my brain is going, if I can go into like focusing on my breath, focusing on knowing I'm resting, resting does truly support your body. If you cannot go into a deep sleep, but you can calmly rest, there is a, I don't have it specifically written down in front of me, but the comparison of a good rest and a deep sleep is better than letting your brain spiral while you're lying there, right? So sometimes I'm really just knowing I'm comfortable, I'm warm, I'm in my bed, like I'm safe. I'm just going to focus on breathing right now. Your body is still hitting that relaxation state and it's still doing some healing.
Mhm.
So catching that run, or I know Tess and I have talked about like, yeah, but I want to get up and watch my TV show since I'm not sleeping. And what's the better choice for your brain in the morning, right? Yeah. And sleep is hard when you have littles. Sleep is not, I know Laura Lee, yeah, she's nodding away. Like sleep is when you have babies, thank God we figure out how to function on very little to no sleep. And that's maybe when we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but when you start to look at what all my other needs are, that I can increase my water during the day. I can make sure my food has been really, really beneficial for my body. I can do some movement for my body because these needs are all going to find balance in supporting you. If one is super off and you're just unable to find it, guess what? You have these other ones that you can fill yourself with also. They are to balance each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good segue into like how we were saying just like that breath and rest, but the other one is, meditation or some kind of stress reduction techniques.
Mhm.
Figuring out what that is for you. And that can also be like, I know one of the other ones we had written down was journaling, but it could also like be combined there with meditation, journaling, however you show up in your practice of that. And
Yeah.
then you even touched just it's like nutrition. Like what am I fueling my body with? Am I just front loading with a bunch of sugar first thing in the morning just to get me through? And like then we're always seeking that little boost and it never really happens and we just keep eating more crap looking for that energy boost.
Yeah. Nutrition to me, and I know you, I loved your description of the car, and my description is this is my
Mm,
temple. Like, if I am putting things in my temple, if it truly was, if I viewed my body as a temple, like that only beautiful things gets to enter and only things that are nourishing to it and are going to benefit it, like I would really think twice about what I was nurturing my body with. And you talked about it from a car perspective, which I love the difference in us there. But describe to them like how you look at that stuff for your from that perspective.
yeah, I mean it's what if you only had one car to drive your entire life? Like the car that you're driving right now, what if that is the last car that you could possibly have? How would you care for that vehicle? How would you drive it? How would how clean would you keep it? How would you maintenance it? How often would you be changing fluids and rotating your tires? And like you would take a heck of a lot better of that car if you knew that that was literally the last vehicle you were ever going to have, or you are taking that heel toe express.
Filto Express. I love that. That's so true. And we go back to I want to touch on the meditation one more time because if you look up the American Heart Association now, meditation is actually on their page. Meditation is now, they are starting to really recognize the healing power that it has in our bodies. And so if you're not sleeping, if sleep is something that you're in a time of life where it's just not happening for you, or your insomnia is really acting up and everything you're trying is actually making you more frustrated, 20 minutes of meditation, of truly being able to either do a guided meditation or a silent meditation, will allow your body and your cells to start regenerating and start getting what they need. That healing process of meditation is scientifically being blown up right now. They are just, I actually have a client from quite a few years ago who I'm not going to be able to remember the exact cancer that he had, but his naturopathic doctor asked him to start meditating every single day. He said, I do not care what else you give up, but your meditation has to start happening. And he started to do visualizing when he did meditation of like bringing in the healing energy into his body and having it go into every single cell and working through where the cancer was. And it was like a year and a half to 2 years in where he went back to his doctors and they could not believe the shift in his cancer. Like our minds are powerful and we can sit there and worry. Worry is a negative prayer, worry is a negative meditation. We can worry about what's happening or what's going to happen or create beliefs and stories of the worst case scenarios for us, or we can take a deep breath and a time out and really just let our bodies be. They know how to heal. They have all the answers within them. We just have to nourish them. It's like taking care of that car. Your car is going to get you where you need to go safely if you take care of it so it can, right? And then, yeah, the journaling and reflecting. To me, reflection time, getting it out of your mind and out of your body is so important because we are a hamster wheel up here and we like to run on the hamster wheel, nowhere really fast, pounding it out. And if we can actually get frontal lobe down to heart, out arm onto paper, it separates it from us. It puts it somewhere else where you can actually read and go, oh, that's interesting. I actually thought that like 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And wow, this is a habit for myself. And you can start to actually look at it separately and come up with a clearer plan of what you want to do about it. Um, they also say it will take it from the rattling of the back of your brain up to the front of your brain, which is where your thought process of how to fix things and how to move through things and how to do things properly, then it comes up front and you can actually cognitively start to make some decisions for yourself from a clearer standpoint. So there is something huge about journaling, and I know so many people are petrified to journal. A, it was read when they were little. B, if somebody ever read my journal, they'd think I was insane and crazy and like my husband would leave me, whatever that looks like. Write it down, get it out, shred it, burn it. You don't have to keep it. You never have to keep it. I personally, don't laugh, have stacks of journals, literally right here. Um, I love going back and seeing my growth. I date everything. So I can
Mhm.
go back and go, oh my gosh, in 2002, that's where I was mentally, and look where I am now. Or, oh my gosh, in 2002, that's where I was, and I'm still like dealing with that thought. Okay, right. So the journaling is such a beautiful way to capture our routines and our just our stuff about ourselves. But if you're the person that's like, I can't journal, I don't want to journal, I don't want people to read that, burn it. Shred it up, bury it in the backyard. Let me tell you, it's powerful to get it out of your body and see it on paper. And if you're Shelly, you go out on a boat and you just let it go out with the dogs swimming. Yeah. All right. Is there another one you want to add in there?
I had personally, I mean, it goes with nutrition, but protein. Protein is so important. That's one of my absolute non-negotiables for myself and for the women I work with because we do not get enough protein, and that is the structure of your entire body is built from protein and amino acids. And if you're not supplying your body with that, you can't put on lean muscle. Again, the processes that are supposed to be working optimally will not work. You put yourself at risk for higher disease when you have less muscle mass on your body. Your metabolism actually works better when you have more muscle on your body. And the only way to do that is to consume enough protein and to build the muscle with simple exercises. It can even be body weight exercises. You can continue to maintain lean muscle with body weight. But protein is it's the building blocks of our entire body. So that was another one that I had added to our list that's kind of like one of my
Negotiable.
non-negotiables.
I like that. Yeah. So now that we kind of went through those basic needs, which I know so many of you know them, right? But one of the things Chelsea and I were talking about was how can you implement them when life is on fire? When you're super triggered, or when all of a sudden you've gone from green to yellow and you're gonna hit red, or you're going out to sea. And how can you make sure that your six basic needs are manageable, that you can do them no matter what's going on in your life? And again, why are these so important? In my opinion, these are your inner compass. We were created, and our bodies, I'm going to use the word need. Our body needs water. Our body needs food. Our body needs sleep. Our body needs movement. Our body needs meditation. If you think way, 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 way back to the caveman era, how much time did they spend in the woods silently by themselves? That was meditation, walking meditation. Meditation doesn't mean you sit down on a perfect little pillow in a quiet little room with the incense burning next to you and you journey into outer space. Meditation is so many different things. You can do walking meditation, sometimes pulling up a book and just reading really positive things, or a like where you're just pottery. I throw pottery. Talk about meditation. You get sucked into pottery. Coloring is meditation, right? Like there's so many layers of that. So these are things that our bodies need to function. If you go without water, how many days can you actually survive? If you go without food, how many days can you actually survive? Like you won't make it. You can sleep is like the first one of the first things to take you off. Makes you crazy, then you don't survive. Like these are needs, and they're the inner compass. And so when you feel mentally off, when you start to feel like I'm reacting poorly, or oof, did that just come out of my mouth? Or I have to go to bed. Like I need to shut, like everything out there is too much for me. That overwhelm says that something in your body is not being cared for. And if you can go and look at those six basic needs, right? The six vital needs. I love that. Chelsea came up with that. You can get yourself back on a functional track. You can. It's that simple. You don't have to go on a $1 million retreat you to get on track. You don't, like, you really can come back to your basic needs to refill your nervous system and then make some choices that are good for you. So that's that. I just want to pop that in there, but I'm super curious, like, when you feel yourself shifting from yellow to red, and I'm going to ask everyone this, but like when you feel that in your body, what shifts do you have to take? Like, what do you implement to get yourself back on track? And Chelsea, for you, let's just say that your 5-year-old is having a hot moment and you're feeling yourself reacting to it. And you are trying to really, in that moment, check in with your body and, like, okay, what basic needs, why don't I have patience for this today? Like, how do you navigate that? What does that look like? And we're not asking like the perfect response either. We're all human.
I mean, mine really comes down to I try to plan it. If I'm not prepped for my day in some way, chaos is going to ensue anyway. So if I just know that certain things are planned and like almost a non-negotiable, to to less likely set me up to be in that situation. Or if I am, I'm able to navigate it better. So for me, it even goes one step backwards of like, wake up, drink water, eat a good high protein filling breakfast that if I don't happen to get lunch during lunchtime and I need to push it out further, that I'm still going to be satiated for several hours. Making sure that your water is near you all the time. Water. I'm a huge water for all the things. Like when I'm feeling stressed, I pound some water. And it does change things. When I'm feeling like I'm gonna say something I shouldn't be saying, drink some water. Um, and I think it's for me personally, it's really planning that so that I am less likely to go, oh shoot, what did I not do? Like almost trying to set myself up for a better way of dealing with it. Now, life happens, right? Like there's nights where we had bad dreams. We wet the bed. We haven't done this in months, but we do, right? You're up at 2 in the morning, changing bedding, showering the kid, and not able to go back to sleep, right? So you like kind of rest. And again, it's in those moments that it's like, okay, well, what can I do? Like, what's in my power? What do I have the most control over in this moment of dumpster fire? Well, I can probably eat something. I could probably, even if I'm not feeling hungry and I know I need to, I could probably eat something. Could probably drink some water. Could probably take 2 minutes to write how I'm feeling down and get it out. Um, I mean, it's hard to say like in those moments too, right? You just do the best you can. But I think some of it is just that preparation of like, what can I do as soon as my feet hit the floor that are going to set me up for a better day? So
Mhm.
that when this happens, because I mean, not that we want to predict it and bring it into but those of us with young kids just know the chaos is going to happen. We're better to deal with it, right? Like I don't feel as edgy when I make sure my morning is set up well.
Yeah. I love the technique of, for me, like learning to check in to myself throughout the day. And something I've learned is that when we are raised in homes of trauma or of a lot of yelling or a lot of the silent treatment, or where when you were hungry, you were told, oh, no, you're not actually hungry, you just ate, or um, like any of those things. I'm cold. No, you're not actually cold. Like it, I don't want to call it parent gaslighting, but I think a lot of our parents didn't have the tool set to take care of us. And so when they were tired or it was exhausting, they always told us, no, that's not actually what's going on in you, because they didn't have the energy to deal with it. So I was raised thinking a lot of the times, like, just go do something else. Just you'll if you stop thinking about what's going on in your body, you can override it. And so now I've learned to, every time I put my seatbelt on in the car, it's my reminder to check in with my body. They say you should check in with your body almost every 2 to 3 hours if you were raised in a trauma filled home, um, because we don't know how to, and we actually don't know what we want or what we need, or am I thirsty or am I hungry? I don't know. I feel like I ate something today. Maybe I haven't. Like we don't actually have the nervous system skill set. So I started playing with, when I see the color red in my house. Oh, stop. Have I taken care of myself? Am I tired? Am I, does my back hurt? Am I thirsty? When I get in my car, I always tell people, a lot of us, not all of us, but leave the house multiple times a day. So every time I arrive somewhere, I like to check in with myself. What am I doing when I go in here? What am I doing when I go in there? Um, and I have a girlfriend who doesn't leave her house often, but I know she loves her water. She loves her water. So I told her, whenever she goes to grab her water, check in with yourself. Am I actually thirsty? Have I eaten today? Should I throw a song on and just shake it out? Am I feeling like extra anxiety in my body right now? How would movement help me right now? So coming up with a daily routine just to start saying hello. Hey, I feel you. We're here, I think. What do I need right now? We have to retrain that. It's not something we normally do. It's not something it's learned behavior that we never learned. If anything, when our stomach, I'm the type of person that I will feed myself if I don't feel good because I always think food is the answer. Now, I'm not saying I always feed myself good food. I will grab the bag of chips because there's that moment of this tastes good and everything is going away while I do this. Right? So, I will feed myself if I have a stomach ache without even recognizing if it's hunger or anxiety or tiredness or stagnant. Oh, stomach hurts, food. So I've had to really work on checking in. What's actually going on? Where are my basic needs today? How have I cared for myself? Have I cared for myself? Right? So I love implementing, yes, first thing in the morning, start your day with water, get a simple routine of how you start nurturing yourself, and then find that thing that you notice you do throughout the day that you can attach asking yourself, how the fuck am I actually doing right now? Most of us don't know until we're in red or out to sea. That's when we find out. And then it's like really, it's kind of late, right? And then the other thing we were talking about, like, what things could we teach you guys? And we talked about an emergency kit. Like having, if I go hiking, if I go into the woods, I have a backpack with all my basic needs in it because I know I'm going out into the woods, right? I have a emergency kit for myself. So why when you head out to the baseball game, that's going to be followed by the blah blah blah, followed by the blah blah blah, and you're not home until 8 p.m. at night, do you not have an emergency kit for your six basic needs? So we were trying to figure out what would that look like, Chelsey? What does an emergency kit for my six basic needs look like?
Well, again, like that whole planning thing, right? Like, what can I like make sure when I go to the grocery store, what are some grab and go things that I can have at readily available? Something that maybe, again, if we've got games and this and that after another, like, can I pack a little cooler full of snacks that are going to satiate me, that are going to be, again, back to the protein so that I'm feeling satiated and feeling full with that. Again, the water, like just that one's hard because I don't condone having bottled water stored in your car.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother thing. But
yeah,
like, just maybe having a big enough, like a jug that you take with you when you know you're going to be gone for several hours so that you have like the bigger jug, right? That you know you're going to have enough water and not run out. Like, the little 12-ounce thing, that ain't going to do it. It's if you're gone for a few hours. Having a simple piece of paper or a mini little notebook in the side of your car that if you have an idea, if you need to just brain dump some nonsense out, that real quick, pen and paper, just get it out. So you have an intrusive thought that needs to go away, put it on the paper, crumple it up. Don't burn it while you're driving, but um but literally like having a kit put together or something that can be easily packed to go when you are out and about
you
or
would
when you know
never
when
leave home
people.
with your littles and not have all their stuff packed.
So why would you do it for you?
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
that diaper bag is going to have everything you need for that child, but rarely has anything you need for you to be able to take care of that child and not lose your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I think is, I love that idea. And even as a mom of an empty nester, like my husband's the type that will get in the car because I can't eat certain foods. Like I cannot touch wheat and dairy. Like it just doesn't work for me. So when I go to starving and you're on a road trip, you have to plan. And if you're not going to plan where you can actually stop and get food, you have to have that in your car, right? And I'm the type of person like, I want to pull over and take a damn nap too. Like, I want to put my feet up and just lay the seat back or know there's a place to stop and just get out and walk. Like, when we go on long trips, we don't prep ourselves for day to day living just to function at the highest form that we can. And then we all wonder why we're exhausted and why we feel like the day ran us or why the kids ran us
Mhm.
because we did not pack an emergency kit for ourselves. So I would love that to be something people start thinking about and implementing. Um, and then the other thing was really teaching our kids about that communication, right? Because that was one thing that you were saying to me was like, huh, there's days where my kid's throwing a fit and I don't like walking away would be so hard, but I really do need to go take a time out. And it's like that's where that implementing, we are teaching them when you are acting this way, it makes my body start to get hot and my throat tighten and I want to go take a 5-minute time out. Time, when they say you take a time out, the amount of time you share is so important because then the abandonment doesn't set in. So instead of saying I'm going on a timeout and you disappear and they're like, is she ever coming back? Versus I'm going on a 5-minute timeout that actually allows them to have their mind settles in that she is coming back. Right. And even with my spouse, I will take a time out and I'll say, hey, I'm going to go outside for like 5 minutes. When I come back, let's both check in and see if we actually want to have this conversation right now, if it's a good time for this conversation. But communicating that, teaching our kids that moms need to be cared for, that humans, adults need to be cared for. We are teaching these little ones, like, hey, guess what? I'm going to go on a walk and I know you're upset. I had a woman come on to my she spoke with me this year and she was saying when she first started realizing she needed more movement and she was like I'm going to do a half an hour walk or jog after my husband gets home from work and her little kids would stand at the door with their face pressed against the door crying while she was running. And she was like at first I felt so bad. And I just had to actually sit with them before I left and said, hey, mommy's going to go on a run. I want to go with you. Nope, this is mommy's time. So when I come back, I can shift into making dinner and hanging out and playing with you. But I need this run to get my brain centered for the rest of the day. And she had to just communicate that with them, you know? But she said it was so hard because she felt like she was abandoning. That mom guilt rose up when she chose to go take care of herself. And the guilt usually is saying, oh, I'm doing something different, not I'm bad or neglectful. It's that reminder in your body, like, oh, I'm actually taking care of myself. There's that guilt again. Oh, I did something for me today. How can we start to feel guilt from a different point of view? Let's check in on the time. It's 1:16. We have like 15 minutes left. Um, I would love to run you guys through this practice of the balance wheel, which I know majority of you have done, but it's always good to have a refresher balance wheel. So if you have a pen and paper near you, I'm going to have you make a giant circle on your paper, literally just a circle, and divide it into your 6 sections. And in each section, write out one of your basic needs. So we'll start with sleep, hydration, nutrition, movement, meditation, journaling. And under nutrition, let's actually write in protein as a focus point of nutrition. The protein will bring your body right back into balance so quickly if you're starting to like lose your thought process. And then individually, looking at each one of these, I'm gonna look at my sleep. That was the first one I wrote down. So sleep from 0 to 10. 0 being I have not slept in days. 10 being if I slept anymore, I may never get out of bed. So again, is that a great thing or right? Like where 0 to 10, find that number that you are truly sitting at right now for yourself. And then label each one of these from 0 to 10, one being not good, 10 being great. And then when you just kind of look at that wheel and the different numbers and how objectively, without judging yourself, like objectively looking at this wheel, which ones, if you were to choose one or two, again, earning trust with ourselves isn't about saying I'm going to do it all and then breaking trust by not doing it all. So, kind of looking at one or two of these that would benefit the rest on this wheel that you would like to put a little bit more focus on this week. And this can shift and change daily or weekly. This isn't for the year or the month. Our balance wheel, our basic need wheel shifts frequently. So if you were to choose two to really give a little more energy to, circle those two. And then maybe even write down one or two ways that you can support yourself. Even thinking about that emergency kit or putting that seatbelt on or communicating these things with your kids, like one or two ways that you could support yourself in fulfilling this basic need right now. And that balance wheel, I find if I leave it on my refrigerator or on my front door or somewhere where I can actually see it, it helps me remember to check in with myself and look and see which ones, again, oh, I slept like a rock, but I sure haven't gotten any movement in the last week. Which ones would help me support with my movement? Like, really start to play with this balance wheel and notice on the days where you're way off, where you're in the yellow and red, wow, have I even looked at my basic needs today? Notice on the days where you're like, I really feel good today. My body feels good today. My head feels good today. All these things. Check in with your balance wheel. Were your needs met? So start to play with noticing and having that awareness of where your needs have been falling off and when your needs are full and how that actually affects you day to day. And then Miss Chelsey has an amazing offer that she would love to share with everyone. So bring it on, girl. I am in already. I can't wait.
I love it. So, it was I have to just say that this was very organically, like, how all this worked with Tassin and I kinda connecting on this, and she had this idea, and it was like, well, I was gonna do this challenge in May that was pretty much on, like, how to get back to your basics, and the foundational things that you need. A lot of times, like, so May is when we start realizing, "Oh, shit, all the, goals and aspirations and things that I set in the new year, if we're not meeting them, this is usually the month that we're checking in going, well, didn't do it again this year. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to reset. Um, it is called, it's going to be a 21-day recommit to fit challenge. And we're going to be focusing on all of the basic needs and doing it in a way of kind of habit stacking. So working on five foundational things: water, sleep, hydration, protein, movement. There will be um, different levels of exercises provided to encourage you 15 minutes of workout or intentional movement every day between walking. There will be strength training workouts provided with full guidance of, like, hey, if I need to do everything from a chair up to, I'm lifting 40-pound dumbbells at home. So multi-level depending on your fitness level, but really it's, again, like, doing it together as a group, holding each other accountable, and really getting into the rhythm and reestablishing these as habitual things that become our identity of, like, this is just who I am. I just drink this much water every day. That's just what I do. I don't even have to think about it anymore. That's just what I just, with all of these things. And so it was really awesome that this was of coming, like, it just kind of came all together because we both had these ideas and coming together with this. So I think that would be a really great segue for anyone that wants to join a group that's going to help keep you accountable for the next 21 days. And we can check in with each other. And, like, I have a separate Facebook group that is full of very supportive, non-judgmental women that are all going through the same struggles, the same bullshit that we all are. And it's just there to be kind of that support system of, like, hey, girl, I feel you. Also to kind of, like, exchange ideas and advice, like everyone did in the comments here. I love that, like, just kind of getting different perspectives on things. Um, and of course, I love to give away stuff for free. So there's going to be lots of different prizes. And again, the biggest goal is to kind of just get us into the rhythm of doing this every single day and making it part of who we be. And so we actually start that next Sunday is going to be the kickoff call. So I will drop the link in the chat, and I'll also make sure anybody that's getting the recording. And then it's just a quick application of saying, yes, I'm in, and then you'll make sure to get the emails. Bye, Laura. Thank you. Uh,
Yay.
yes.
I
So
love
it's
that.
going to be a lot of fun. It's free. I
Yeah.
guess I
And
should have mentioned it's free.
21 days of thinking about your food and 21 days of thinking about your movement, 21 days of thinking about and like I mean, you all know, like, being in a group is so beneficial. So I am actually making this commitment because for me right now, my movement is the lowest on my wheel. And when my movement is up, I am consciously thinking about what I'm eating. When my movement is up, I'm sleeping better. When my movement is up, I am hydrating better. I can meditate easier. And my journaling is more pleasant. Like, when my movement is up, everything in my life changes. And it is the one thing that I, like, deeply haven't found consistency around. So I am really excited to jump in and do this 21-day reset with you and just get to work with you. I've worked with Chelsey so many dang times, guys. She's just, again, is so non-judgmental about where you're at and meets you anywhere you are. So check it out and give it a try. I was gonna pop on and just talk about the Becoming You course, which most of you have taken. um, and my goal was to start my online Becoming You course in May, and I think I'm going to be pushing it until June, just as I'm still navigating what's next and what dates are going to work for me and where my heart is. But I'm also creating a course that I will be running this summer For anyone that is local, I haven't decided if I will be putting it out online yet, but for anybody watching the recording that is local to Carnation Duval, um, I am going to be running a course that we really dive into the chakra system and we go deep into each energy center and really start to heal the different dynamics from 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21. Each chakra is connected to a different age group and the things that we learned there and how we show up in this world. So I'm going to go in to do some healing through each of the 7 chakra centers and learn how to bring balance into them while also pulling into really pulling desire manifestation out of these creative centers and raising the vibrations in each one so we can move through life even more balanced and check in like, oh, my low back is hurting. That's usually connected to my root chakra or my sacral chakra. Which one of these centers is out of balance? And how can I connect to and understand that my root chakra means my safety, something I don't feel safe. I don't feel like I am supported right now. Oh, my feelings are really loud right now. And I feel like if I speak my feelings, people will judge me for them. Like each spot in our body holds a different connection to an energy that we learn to shut down or we learn to open as children. And so many of us have learned to shut them down. So that is something I'm creating this week as I walk into the woods by myself for 5 days. I want to let that come through. I will be popping that onto my Choosing You Facebook group and onto my Instagram, Tassin_joy. So you can follow me there to find those classes, but they will be coming up soon. Yeah. All right, ladies. Thanks for joining us and having an active chat and relearning about your basic needs. I feel like that's something that we should be reminded of every week, every month. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, girls, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. See you later.